I kind of think people forgot how this year began with the Colin Kaepernick protest. Like, it seems like a couple of seasons ago. I don't know if it feels that way to you, because there has been, maybe it's because of the election and the post-Trump election protest, but it seems like the Kaepernick protests were years ago. You gave one of the most thought-provoking kind of responses. You guys called a press conference. There was thoughts that because your coaching staff and your front office gives you the leeway to say what's on your mind, that there was going to be some sort of major protest by your team. Instead, you locked arms. How did that evolve during the season, from the time in which you had a press conference and you gave such a thoughtful series of remarks in regards to police brutality? How did that evolve through the year?
Well, the first part of it was just educating ourselves. Obviously we had an emotional response to the things that were going on in our communities and in our country, but we wanted to be educated before we made any statements, and that's what we did. We took full force on just allowing ourselves to dive in and be exposed to everything that was going on, hear it from both sides, from the communities, from the law enforcement, and then also from the political side of what can be changed, what needs to be changed. And so that was the main part of it, just evolving in terms of the educational side of things and making sure that we were well versed in what was going on before we made any statement.
Colin said that he would kneel until there was change, and it's really hard to track kind of that change. You tried to work with the Seattle PD, and like, you've tried to, hey, look, there's more than just protesting. Like, we got to kind of evolve together, right? But have things changed? Does it feel any different?
Well, the process is going to be long. It's not going to be overnight that you're going to see these changes. But what we have seen, especially in the state of Washington, is that specifically that what I'm approaching is trying to get a clause change in the state of Washington, which says that you can't prosecute a law enforcement that
an officer
that kills somebody unless you find malice or without good faith, which is basically premeditated murder, which you can't.
It's really hard to know intent.
Right, well, especially because a police officer is going to wake up in the morning and put a gun on because that's their job, right? So you can't prove that they're going out with this premeditation of going to kill somebody. So we're trying to get that removed from the clause so that there's a higher sense of accountability across the board.
Could anybody in your locker room be a Trump supporter?
Absolutely.
So, because I do think that there is this, it's like Tom Brady's fielding questions about he's friends with Trump, and I actually think he's handled it the right way. Instead of running from it, he's like, yeah, like, we're friendly. That doesn't mean you agree with every policy that he's coming out with. I just don't know. I think the big question for many people is there actual, like, discourse? Is there actually a discussion about it, or do you have to think one way? I mean, obviously you have to care for your fellow man. Anybody who doesn't, you're not going to survive in the world of professional sports and maybe in the world. But is there room for thoughtful discourse in that locker room?
Absolutely, especially in our locker room. Like I said, guys like Richard Sherman, Michael Bennett, Cam Chancellor, they don't shy away from their opinions. They're very open and very vulnerable. They'll tell you exactly how they feel, and we have those conversations. And sometimes they get heated, but like you said, at the end of the day, we're still family, so we still treat each other, with high regard.